Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and salutations to the elect who labor in sincerity and in truth, and to the Akwath who have a sincere heart of repentance. It's your brother Yadai from the DC Church and Lord's Will. This video will be edifying, short, and straight to the point. Now, I don't know exactly what I'm going to entitle the video, but what I'm going to be speaking on is more about AI, the data centers, the infrastructure that's being set up. And one of the titles that I came across was something called Pax Silica. But first, I'm going to get 2nd Ezra 15 and read verses 1 and 2. And it reads, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Okay, so the words of prophecy, it just means that we're telling you what happens before it happens. Okay, that's how we're able to get our people to prepare for the times to come. Now, specifically, we're speaking to the elect of Israel, meaning your Negroes, your Hispanics, and your Native Americans. Why? Because the elect are going to look at these words as faithful and true. Now, because they actually believe these words to be true, that's going to shape their actions to have a sincere heart of repentance. Okay. Now, the AI infrastructure and things that's being set up, we all know that it's going to be a gradual change. And what I came across was called Pax Silica, which is a geopolitical initiative which was launched by the US in 2025. And what is it for? For the AI infrastructure that's trying to set up. Now, if you know a little about history, the one thing that this sounds similar to is Pax Romana, which just means Roman peace. Okay. Now, I want to go here because this is a page that's pulled up, paxsilica.org. You can even go on Google and type it up, and the AI will also give you the answers as well. But Pax Silica is an initiative to secure supply chains for the AI era. So we're talking about a new world, just like when they talk about new world orders, so forth and so on. Okay. And before we get into Pax Silica, let's go into what Pax Ramona is. So I started talking to Chat GPT and I asked, hey, Chat, summarize what Ramona is. So just to briefly get through it, the Pax Ramona, which just means Roman peace, was a roughly 200-year period of relative stability and prosperity in the Roman Empire, traditionally dated from 27 BCE to 180 CE. It began when Augustus became Rome's first emperor after years of civil war and ended around the death of Marcus Aurelius. So the key features of Pax Romana included political stability. So emperors maintained centralized control, reducing internal conflict. And that's similar to what they're even trying to do now. Centralized control, CBDCs, things like that, right? Economic growth. Trade expanded across Europe, North Africa, and in the Middle East, thanks to safe roads and sea routes. Infrastructure projects. The Romans built roads, aqueducts, ports, and cities throughout the empire. And there's cultural exchange. So there's Roman law, language, especially Latin, architecture, and customs spread widely. Military security. The Roman army defended borders and kept order within the empire. And it says, although it was called a peace, war still occurred, especially at Rome's frontiers, but the empire experienced far less internal chaos than before. The Pax Romana is often remembered as a high point of Roman power, wealth, and cultural influence. And the irony is they take that same title, but put it into silica. All right. Now let's go into what Pax Silica is. All right. Because as you can see, the similarities, it's Rome all over again. That's why they take all the ideologies from Rome and apply it to the US today. Okay. Now, when you look at summarize what Pax Silica is, Pax Silica is a US led international initiative launched in late 2025 to coordinate trusted, quote unquote, supply chains for advanced technologies, especially semiconductors, AI infrastructure, critical minerals, energy, logistics, and advanced manufacturing. And if you look at even the quests that the US has been going about today, what are we doing? We're trying to monopolize all the resources. Why are we trying to monopolize resources? Because of the infrastructure that we're trying to build up. Okay. So, in simple terms, it's an attempt to build a technology and industrial alliance among countries aligned with the US so they can reduce dependence on geopolitical rivalries, primarily China, though usually not named directly for key AI and chip related infrastructure. So, the key goals are to include securing semiconductor and AI supply chains. And you can see them doing that by going to other nations, taking what's not theirs, right? Coordinating investment in chip manufacturing and infrastructure, protecting sensitive technologies, building trusted data centers, fiber networks, and logistics systems. Matter of fact, hold that real quick because I want to pull this up. Just asking questions, data centers being built in the US. It says the US is experiencing a massive data center construction boom with nearly 1,500 new facilities planned or under development to support the AI surge. Spurred by tech giants, the market is shifting from urban hubs to rural areas, causing total power demand to skyrocket. Not just power, also water demand too. You can see people. I wish I had that video from TikTok. This lady, I believe it was in Georgia, due to the data centers and the demand of water that it takes from other residents, now their water isn't being filtered out correctly. They're drinking brown, mucky water. Now imagine when more of these data centers start getting built up, how much demand is it going to take from the people that actually need these? And these are your essentials of life that you need to live, and they're taking from these things to build up these data centers. Okay, but this data is upholding so much, but it's really upholding information about us as well. But I'm gonna get into that later. But the top growth markets are Virginia and Texas. Let's see. It says Northern Virginia remains the global gravity well for data centers. Both states lead the country in both operating and planned capacity. Rural expansion, approximately 67% of new data centers are being built in rural or peripheral communities as tech companies seek cheaper land and ample space to scale. Emerging tech hubs, massive campuses, and gigawatt scale. And we look at gigawatts, about 10, I believe, is supposed to be able to power up a small country, some cities, and things like that. So keep in mind how big these things have to how big these things will have to be, and how much energy and all our resources going to have to take in order to keep it running. It's not going to be sustainable. Superclusters are actively being developed in states like Georgia, Indiana, Arizona, and Ohio. Major developments and investments. Amazon Web Services in Indiana. Amazon completed its 8 billion project Rainer in Indiana, an AI infrastructure initiative encompassing 30 interconnected data centers. Meta in Texas and elsewhere. Meta is investing over 1.5 billion in gigawatt scale campus in El Paso, expected to launch in 2028, and is building a Manhattan-sized AI supercluster named Prometheus in the Midwest. Google in Arkansas and Oregon. Google is building a multi-million dollar campus in West Memphis, Arkansas, spanning 1,000 plus acres and expanding its operation in the Dallas. All right. But I just wanted to get that real quick. But just to get up point real quick about how the demand of water, US data centers currently consume hundreds of billions of gallons of water annually. This includes direct use for server cooling, about 17 to 30 billion gallons, and indirect use via electricity generation, over 200 billion gallons. With the rapid rollout of new AI infrastructure, annual consumption is projected to multiply significantly in the coming years. You're talking about Project Stargate and things like that. They're trying to get data centers the size of 900 plus football fields. Okay, and that's not an exaggeration. This is what they're giving us. All right, indirect consumption, power generation. It says around 228 plus billion gallons. Okay, so this is letting you know what they're trying to do and how much of the resources it's going to take. Okay. And then certain companies that are involved with this is like Google, Apple, Nvidia. They're actively supporting Pax Silica. Okay. Through infrastructure investments, manufacturing, reshifting, and hardware design, while Tesla remains an outlier heavily bottlenecked by its supply chains ties to China. Okay. And even when you go to this page, was it this one right here? Yep. Just go onto the government website. It tells you, it gives you a brief explanation of what it is, but people that are also participating in as well. Australia, Finland, Greece, India, Israel, Japan, Norway, Qatar, Republic of Korea, Singapore, Sweden, the Philippines, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom. Greece is a signatory to the U.S. Greece Economic Security Declaration. Non-signatory participants is Taiwan, and Taiwan has endorsed the Pax Silica Declaration principles via the joint statement of the Pact on the Pax Silica Declaration and U.S. Taiwan Economic Security Corporation. Okay, so it's out there. They're letting you know what they're doing. It's just more so, do you understand what it means? All right. So let's go back. But it says securing semiconductor AI supply chains, coordinating investment in chip manufacturing and infrastructure, protecting sensitive technologies, building trusted data centers, as we just went over, fiber networks and logistics systems, reducing reliance on countries seen as strategic risks, and aligning industrial policy among partner nations. So the initiative was formalized through the Pax Silica Declaration, a non-binding agreement signed by an initial group of partner countries in Washington, D.C. in December 2025. Countries associated with the initiative include the U.S., Japan, South Korea, the U.K., Australia, Israel, and the UAE, Singapore, India, and others. All right. So when you look at the name Pax and Silica, the name Pax is a Latin for peace or order, which is similar to the Pax Americana. But silica is just referencing the silicon, which is the foundation of the semiconductors that they're actually getting out, when they go to other places and actually try to gather up the resources to be able to actually execute this plan. Okay. So the phrase roughly implies a new global order, which they're all trying to establish their NWO, their New World Order, which eventually is going to get into the digital ID. And Lord's willing, my next video, what I want to do was just give you the idea of the reality of what the digital ID is going to look like. So I'm gonna just do like a re-upload of, and I had to do this one because it's a great image on what it looks like of what we're going to be facing. Especially if you have trouble like seeing certain things, it's good to have visualizations of it. Salakia. All right, but supporters describe it as a positive sum economic security partnership, a way to strengthen resilience and technological cooperation, a framework for the AI's era industrial base. Okay, critics argue the commitments are still vague, membership criteria are unclear, and it may deepen technological bloc politics and economic fragmentation. Now, they're going to always give it to you as something that's positive or convenient or something that's better for your lifestyle because that's something that people will actually go for. They're not going to go for something that it's going to be, I would say, if it's going to hamper their life, if it's actually going to make their quality of life worse. So they're not going to give it to you as such. All right. Now it goes into the deeper similarities of the Pax Romana and Pax Silica, and while it's so relevant because you see that the U.S. is picking up Rome all over again, just like it's been doing. Okay, that's what the Renaissance era was about, the revitalization of Rome and the Greekish ways too, as you can see all the names like Prometheus and things like that. Okay, so when you look at the Pax Romana and you look at Pax Silica, you look at the similarities of how they're constructed and know that they just copy and paste it. But instead of being what they had back then, it's all about the AI infrastructure now. All right. So the deeper similarity is this: both are systems of order built around a dominant center. Rome created a sphere where trade, governance, and security depended on Roman power. But Pax Silica proposes a world where advanced technology, systems, chips, AI, compute, cloud infrastructure, critical minerals are organized around a U.S. aligned coalition instead of fragmented or rival blocs. Two, infrastructure is the backbone of power. For Rome, there was roads, shipping lanes, military forts, and tax systems. Today, for Pax Silica, there's semiconductor fabs, rare earth rare earth processing, AI data centers, undersea cables, energy grids, and cloud infrastructure. The analogy is basically Roman roads enabled empire, but silicon infrastructure enables AI era power. Okay. That's that new world order that they're trying to establish. Three, economic dependency becomes geopolitical influence. So Rome tied territories into its economy, so they depended on Roman stability. Okay, when everybody got to rely on you, that's because you have the control. And the only way you can do that is if you monopolize the resources. Okay. But Pax Silica similarly aims to create interdependence among allied countries and strategic technologies, reducing reliance on China centered supply chains. Four, peace is really enforced stability. Okay, Pax Romana did not mean absence of conflict. It meant Rome controlled the system strongly enough to suppress large scale instability. Likewise, Pax Silica is less about peace in the humanitarian sense and more about economic security, technological control, resilience, strategic alignment. So the implication is stability. Stability comes from controlling the critical infrastructure of the era. Now, if you notice, they're talking about things being aligned. At the end of the day, they are against Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right. So it's going to be a global change, meaning it's not going to be just US is involved with this. It's going to be a global change. Other allied countries are going to be doing this as well. Okay. So five, it says technology replaces territory as the strategic center, a major difference. Rome controlled land directly. Pax Silica is not territorial empire building. It's more like standards control, supply chain control, compute access, investment coordination, and technology governance. So the empire is economic and technological rather than colonial. There's also a modern parallel to Pax Americana. Pax Americana was built around naval dominance, the dollar, and global trade institutions. Silica adapts that idea for the AI era: chips, compute, energy, data infrastructure, critical minerals. So, One Atlantic Council analysis explicitly notes that the name evokes peace underpinned by the dominance or centrality of technology. So, if the whole world globally is going to go technology, then obviously that's where the world is going to be shifting to a new world era, a new world order. Okay. And who is going to be the backbone behind this? Who's going to be in control of all this? Job 9:24, the earth was given to the hand of the wicked. This is their plan to try to usher in the system that's going to carry out the MOTB, known as the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. Okay. Now, right here, with just giving you key similarities between the two, right here. So it's talking about the core meaning. Romana was peace and stability under Roman dominance. Silica is in the tech industry. Dominant power is Rome. Now it's the United States, which is Rome all over again. NATO and the EU as well. Don't forget about that. But foundation of power was the military supremacy, the roads, law, trade. Now here with Silica is the semiconductors, AI, critical minerals, data infrastructure. Strategic goal: secure empire-wide commerce and governance, and secure global AI and technology supply chains. Integration method is provinces, alliances, and infrastructure. Silica trades, partnership, industrial coordination, and tech standards. But you see the similarities right here, right? Infrastructure focus, roads, ports, aqueducts, chips, compute, fiber networks, energy grids, and logistics. Okay. Now, one thing that I also want to point out too was the Beijing summit that happened. I think it was like maybe last week, a couple weeks ago. But the people that participated was with DJT, the CEO for NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, and you talk about Elon Musk as well. Okay. Now, no one said it was a direct correlation, but I decided to ask ChatGPT, and lo and behold, look what I found out. It says, yes, there appears to be a strong thematic connection. Even if the summit was not officially branded as a Pax Silica event, the Beijing summit with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Jensen Huang was heavily centered around AI leadership, semiconductor access, trade, supply chains, China US technological competition, and strategic industrial cooperation. That is almost exactly the same strategic terrain Pax Silica is about. Here's the connection. Pax Silica is the theory. The summit looked like a practical power politics. Pax Silica envisions a global order organized around chips, AI compute, energy, data infrastructure, and trusted industrial alliances. And that's exactly what it's about, right? That's exactly what they were talking about at the summit. So it says the China summit showed the real world struggle over who controls that system. Seems like, okay, who got next? Who's going to be the real top power behind it all, right? But ultimately, it's just going to be Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. But, all right, I'm going to get a couple precepts now, just going into everything that I just went into, because at the end of the day, this is things that we have to know. So when these things start to unfold, we're not surprised by it. And we're not surprised by the enemy's plans, like it says in Corinthians, then you're obviously able to prepare yourselves. Okay. Now, I want to get Actually, I'm gonna go to the blue letter. I'm gonna get Habakkuk. I'm gonna read in the NLT. Habakkuk 2. I'm gonna read verses 8 and 9. It says, "Because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled the towns with violence. What sorrow awaits you who build houses, who build big houses with money gained dishonestly. You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest beyond the reach of danger. But by the murders you committed, you have shamed your name and forfeited your lives." Okay, so that's exactly what they did. They built this place, America, off the blood, sweat, and tears of our brothers. Okay, and just the same way that they built it up are going to be the same way they got to be taken down. Those who kill with the sword to be slain by the sword, and those who put into captivity shall be put into captivity. Okay, they're over there taking things that's not theirs. Well, now that's why verse 10 said what it said. But by the things that you have done, now you're forfeiting your lives. You're building your case to a point where now the Lord is going to get his vengeance upon you. Okay, let me go ahead and get Proverbs 28 and read verses 15 and 16. It says, "A wicked ruler is as dangerous to the poor as a roaring lion or an attacking bear. A ruler with no understanding will oppress his people, but one who hates corruption will have a long life." And the reason why a ruler like that is so dangerous to the poor is because of the simple fact of look what the example that I just gave to you. One, he's selfish. He's going to be willing to do whatever it takes to try to accomplish what his agenda wants. But two, I just talked about it earlier about all the water they're going to be taking away from people, the supply they're going to be taking away from people, the electricity they're going to be taking away from people. People are not going to be able to live like the way they want to live because they're not going to be able to have access to the things that they need in order to just survive. Okay. Even just this year, when it comes down to the AI infrastructure being built up, over 140 over 140,000 jobs have already been gone. And that's just over what I've gotten so far. There's more than likely more. So if people can't work to get a livelihood, they can't pay for anything. You see? Let me get Proverbs 29 and 4. It says, "A just king gives stability to his nation, but one who demands bribes destroys it." Okay? Well, does this look like a just king that's in place right now? Okay? All he's doing is taking from the people just to be able to increase his riches. Take from his people in his own land, take from people in other lands, just to be able to try to accomplish what he wants to accomplish in his agenda, which he's going to get pretty far with it. But at the end of the day, that's just what we're going to have to be able to endure through. Why? Because we have a Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and his spirit is going to be up on us, Lord willing, a part of that number, to be able to endure these times. Okay? So all we got to do is stay focused, keep pointing out these enemies' plans so we can be prepared for it, and just keep feeding the flock. Okay? While we do that, just be patient and understand the fact that, although it tarry, just wait for it. The Lord is definitely going to do exactly what he said. So hopefully this was edifying to the flock. Again, the main thing that this is about is just this AI infrastructure that they're trying to set up. And the one infrastructure that's going to set up this whole new world order that they came out with is called Pax Silica. Okay. And again, it's an initiative to secure supply chains for the AI era. And you got to understand what AI is going to control. It's not just things that you're seeing on a normal basis, even in your social media, the economics, the money you have, the CBDCs, the money you can spend, all that stuff is going to be monitored and controlled by this. Okay. So just stay prayed up, keep fasting, and just keep doing your thing out here, man. Keep fighting for your crown. Lord willing, we're all part of that number. Will be delivered sometime sooner than later. Because our salvation is nearer than what we believe. All right. But again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And shalom to the elect and the Akwaf that have a sincere heart of repentance. Till next one. Shalom.